Alright. Okay, let's talk about the cranial nerves which they are present. First, let us understand cranial nerves are numbered from 1 to 12 and they are in pairs. That means one on each side. So, why they are numbered from 1 to 12? Because they are present in that order. So, let's see what are the nerves and what is their order. Here, this is the cribriform plate of the ethmoid. One side orbit has been dissected. You can see that on either side of the cribriform plate, this one, here is the crista galli. Here you have lot of openings, small openings. This is forming the roof of the nose. Here you will see first cranial nerves which are emerging from the roof of the nose and entering into the brain directly. These are olfactory nerves. These olfactory nerves come in small rootlets. They are all joining together to form olfactory bulb. They enter into a structure called as olfactory bulb, which is present in the base of the brain. So since we have removed the brain, we can't see the olfactory bulb. So first cranial nerve position is at the cribriform plate of the ethmoid. Second, we will go to the next position. See, from anterior to posterior we are going. This is the second cranial nerve, which is the optic nerve. It is entering into the orbit. Rather than entering, you can say you can exiting out of the orbit because it is carrying visual sensory information backwards. So this is the second cranial nerve, optic nerve. So first is olfactory, second is optic. Then if you come to the posterior aspect of the body of the sphenoid, at this junction between the body of the sphenoid and the petrous part of the temporal bone, here you can see this is a triangular area. This is called as oculomotor tribone. So this is the point where you can see here on this side you can see the nerves. Okay, you have oculomotor nerve and along this margin you can see fourth cranial nerve. Fourth cranial nerve is present along this margin. So we have third and fourth cranial nerves in the oculomotor tribone, which is present in the body of the sphenoid at the posterior end of the body of the sphenoid where petrous part of temporal bone is meeting. So this is oculomotor tribone where we will see third cranial nerve and fourth cranial nerve. Then let's go to the major nerve, which is the thickest of all the cranial nerves. Here you can see this is the petrous part of the temporal bone. Here in that we will see an opening. We can see that this is the thickest of all cranial nerves, the fifth cranial nerve, trigeminal nerve. Then next to that we have sixth cranial nerve. This is the abducent nerve. Okay. Then below this fifth and sixth, they are passing just below the dura mater. So if I strip off this dura mater, we will see that here is the fifth cranial nerve passing into the middle cranial fossa and dividing into its three divisions: ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular divisions. Fifth cranial nerve. Okay. Whereas sixth cranial nerve is next to that, entering into the on either side of the cavernous sinus and enters into the orbit. That is the sixth cranial nerve. What is the position? You can see that fifth and sixth side by side. Next to that we will go little down below the petrous part of the temporal bone. You can see these nerves. Okay. This is the seventh and eighth cranial nerves. That is, seventh is facial, eighth is vestibulocochlear nerve. So seventh and eighth are present in the entering through the internal acoustic meatus, entering into the internal ear. Where is the internal ear? Inside the petrous part of the temporal bone. This is the petrous part. So seventh and eighth is entering into that. So this is the trigeminal and below this is the seventh and eighth nerves. Okay. So petrous part of the temporal nerve accommodates which cranial nerves? Let's see once again. The fifth nerve, sixth nerve, okay, seventh and eighth nerves in the internal acoustic meatus. So all these are in an order: third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth together. Alright. So now what are left? When you go downwards, you can see bunch of nerves emerging from here, okay, and they're passing downwards. This is a jugular foramen. You will have 9, 10 and 11 cranial nerves. 9, 10, 11 cranial nerves are present here. That is the jugular foramen. 11th is accessory nerve. 9th is glossopharyngeal. 10th is vagus. So you can see accessory nerve has got two parts. That is cranial part and the spinal part. See here, this is a part of spinal cord. When I am pulling down, you can see some fibers coming from the spinal cord and joining this bunch of nerves which are passing through this jugular foramen. So this is the spinal part and cranial part of accessory nerves. So we have 9, 10, 11 passing through jugular foramen. Then finally, when you pull the spinal cord downwards, anteriorly, you can see a bunch of nerves exiting through the foramen. That is the 12th cranial nerve. That is the hypoglossal nerve, which is passing through the hypoglossal foramen. So this is the 12th cranial nerve. So when you see the location of all the nerves, they are all in an order. So let's revise quickly once again. Olfactory from the cribriform plate, optic nerve entering into the orbit through optic canal, oculomotor trigone where we have third and fourth nerves, oculomotor and trochlear nerves. Fifth, this is the fifth, passing through the apex of the petrous part of temporal bone into the trigeminal ganglion. Sixth nerve, inferolateral to the fifth nerve. Then we have 7th and 8th in the internal acoustic meatus. 9, 10, 11 passing through the jugular foramen. 12th passing through the hypoglossal canal. So you can see the hypoglossal nerve passing through the hypoglossal canal. Okay. So it's basically we can see all the nerves clearly once we remove all these structures very well. Okay. So that's the location of the nerves.